Okay guys, so in preparation for tomorrow's activity, we're going to look at some of the problems that we're going to be looking at tomorrow. I'm going to walk you through 4 different problems. You don't have to take any notes because you don't have this paper. All you have to do is watch. So Eric Gutierrez was in my first period class. You don't have to write anything, you just have to watch, and you can say that you heard that in this video. Okay, so Tom ran from his home to the bus stop and waited. He realized that he had missed the bus, so he walked home. In these problems, we're going to be looking at an imaginary person called Tom. We're going to look at what graphs that have time and distance from Tom's home could describe what Tom is doing, could describe the distance Tom is over time from his home. So now that we read the problem, let's go back and break it up into parts. Tom ran from his home to the bus stop. That's the first part. He ran from his home to the bus stop. If he's running, that means that the distance from him and his home is going to increase pretty fast. So I'm going to draw a line like this, pretty steep line. He realized that he had missed the bus. Oh, sorry. He ran from his home to the bus stop and waited. If he's waiting somewhere, that means he's just standing there. That means the distance from him and his home is not increasing, it is also not decreasing. It stays the same over some period of time. So that will look something like this. He realized that he had missed the bus, so he walked home. If Tom is walking, then that means that the distance between him and his home is decreasing because he's walking home. But because he's walking, it is not decreasing as fast as if he were running towards his home. So instead of making a line that goes down pretty fast, I'm going to draw a line that goes down not as fast. A line that is not as steep. And so there I have it. Even though it looks messy, I have kind of like a sketch of what a graph that would fit that scenario would look like. Let's look at number 2. Tom skateboarded from his house, gradually building up speed. He slowed down to avoid some rough ground, but then speeded up again. So again, I'm looking at a graph that has time and distance from home. So I'm going to look at this, I'm going to read it again, but I'm going to read it part by part. Tom skateboarded from his house, gradually building up speed. The key word in this problem is gradually. Today I asked you in class, depending on which class period you were in, to explain to me when we were going to have curves in our graphs. And if you explained it to me correctly, I gave you some points on your quiz. And the answer to that is anytime you are gradually speeding up or slowing down, in other words, over time you're going faster and faster and faster, you're going to find that your graph is going to have a curve. If you're slowing down slower and slower and slower, then you're going to find that you're also going to have a curve, but it's going to look different. So let's look at this one. He gradually built up speed. That means that he is going and he's going fast, but then he's getting faster and faster and faster, so it curves up. He slowed down to avoid some rough ground. In other words, the distance from his home is still increasing because he's still skateboarding away, but it's going to decrease slower. But then he speeded up again. So he's going to start going fast again and again. If you're going faster and faster, then you're going to have going faster, and then it gets faster and faster and faster, so you're going to have another curve. So a sketch for a graph would be something like this one. Let's look at another scenario. Tom left his home for a run. but he was unfit and gradually came to a stop. So he left his home to go for a run, but because he was out of shape, he had to go back to his house. I have time on one side, and then I have distance from home. If he's running, then the distance between him and his home is going to increase. We're going to start at our origin because that is where our home is. If the distance between him and his home is 0, then we're gonna start at the origin because that means there's 0 distance. He gradually came to a stop again. Look at this word, gradually. That means that he started going slower and slower, and that's what happens whenever you start running. As you get tired, you start running slower until that's where you just stop. So he was running, he was getting faster and faster, but eventually he got tired, so he just started going slower and slower and slower until he stopped. So a graph for that scenario will look something like this. Again, it is curvy because he's gradually coming to a stop, and eventually it just gets flat because he just stops. Let's look at another scenario. I'm gonna have time and distance from home. Tom went out for a walk with some friends. He suddenly realized he had left his wallet behind. He ran home to get it and then had to run to catch up with the others. So let's go back and read it. Tom went out for a walk with some friends. That means he started walking. If he's walking with his friends, we're going to have a line that looks like this because the distance between him and his home is going to increase. But because he's walking, it's not going to increase fast. He suddenly realized he left his wallet behind. He ran home. He ran home. That means the distance between him and his home is going to decrease because he's going back to his home. But because he's running, that means it is going to decrease pretty fast, like that. And then had to run to catch up with the others. So, and again, he ran home. That means the distance between him and his home is going to decrease fast, but because he ran home, eventually he's going to get back home. That means the distance between him and his home is going to decrease completely when he gets home. And then he ran to catch up with the others. That means that the distance between him and his friends is going to increase pretty fast. No, sorry. The distance between him and his home is going to increase pretty fast because he's running away from his home, going towards his friends. So I'm going to draw a line like this. Because he's running, that distance is going to increase pretty fast. That means a line is going to look pretty steep like this one. Okay guys, so I promised you this was going to be under 10 minutes, and it is. I went over 4 problems. Remember, there are some key vocabulary words that you need to remember. Anytime you see the words gradually, like in problem number 3, you're going to end up with some type of curve. And other than that, just remember, if you're running somewhere, the distance between you and your home is going to increase pretty fast. If you are walking, though, the distance is going to increase, but it's not going to increase as fast. Okay, so I will see you tomorrow.